We live in an interesting time. I think there's a Chinese curse. We live in interesting times. Very sad recent news. America's gone very way down in terms of joy. Many people don't realize this was not this is not a simple matter. Behind the attacks against America, many of it coming from the so-called enlightened left, is nothing but jealousy. Jealousy has really it's the one force. It's interesting, the only one of the Ten Commandments which speaks about an emotion. The other Ten Commandments are all about an action. Um, is don't be jealous. Jealousy is such a powerful, destructive force because jealousy is that it's not fair. And we all have a very powerful side to us in terms of needing things to be fair, because we all have an ego. It's not that we're so righteous, but rather it's we can handle being higher than someone, which isn't fair, but kind of in our favor, so we don't care. We can handle being equal to someone, but we can't be handle being lower to someone if we think it's unfair. So, for example, if you, I don't know, happen to meet the President of the United States, let's say, if you like him, or do a different example, maybe a great rabbi that you respect, you wouldn't feel jealous of, let's say, his honor, or maybe he's living in the White House, because you don't expect that. In fact, you'd be honored to be with him. But let's say your own brother became that famous rabbi or the president, you might have a certain jealousy, like, why is he better than me? I don't want to go too far down this subject, because if you made it this far, you're not that ADD, and there's only so much you can talk today without losing everybody. But the point is that all antagonism is really jealousy. It has nothing to do with being righteous. Being righteous is really about uplifting another. It's never about putting someone else down. As Reb Nachum Mendel of Kutz said, what's the difference between a lover of truth and a hater of falsehood? Is a lover of truth finds the truth, a hater of falsehood finds the falsehood. One is positive, the other is negative. And all of our emotions boil down to positive and negative. But the deepest question, and the real reason I'm giving this little talk today, is a very, 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 very deep concept. And that is that, how are we meant to feel about ourselves? Are we meant to feel positive, or are we meant to feel negative? It's true about that which is good in the world, and certainly those that are good, we have to feel positive. That which is bad, and even those that are evil, we have to feel negative. Otherwise, we allow it. But the same thing applies to ourselves, because if we just unconditionally love ourselves, and there is negative in ourselves, right? All the evil that exists outside of us, they're only people. We have that potential as well. The jealousy comes from within all people. So we have to actually hate the Amalek within us. We have to hate it. We have to disconnect from our own evil. And the only way you disconnect from something that you like, because when we're young, we fall in love with ourselves. We develop an ego. It's a perception of our grandeur. We cried and our mother gave us milk and this and that. So we believe that we're powerful, which is why we get upset when we don't get our way. The only way to do this is to differentiate between the light and darkness within us. So just like we have to differentiate between the light and darkness in the world, and we have to know that there is good and there is evil, there are good people and there are evil people, we have to love the good and actually hate the evil. Part of the problem with the ideological weak people is that by not hating evil, they allow it to perpetuate. It's like a cancer, like a doctor that says, oh, I love all cells, and well, these cells want to kill the rest. And so unless you can be strong and courageous and eliminate evil, it will kill you. All of history proves that. And those that are calling for a ceasefire now in Israel are just those people that are weak, and they're saying, oh, well, it's somebody else that's going to die, let them die. As I think it was Mr. Zuckerman, who owns the U.S. News and World Report, when Democratic president was pushing Israel to give land to these terrorists, which is exactly what happened, how this horrific, evil, monstrous attack happened, because they had land and they were able to attack. He says it's very easy to tell someone else to give your land to somebody else. But I'm sure if they were coming and they say, we want your house, they wouldn't give it. No human being in the world would say, make a ceasefire with Nazi Germany. That's exactly what the so-called liberals are saying. The idea of suddenly they're so concerned about the Palestinians having food. What about the Jews that are kept hostage? Why can't Hamas release them before they get any food? So the whole thing is just weak people giving in to evil, which will only bring it upon themselves. It's already in their country. We already had 9/11. They already want to kill all of us. But that's not the concern of a weak person. It's how do I run from my fears at this moment. It's not a long-term thinking. It's a pathetic short-term thinking. As Churchill said, an appeaser is one who feeds a crocodile hoping it will eat him last. But in conclusion, within ourselves we also have evil. We also have Amalek, but we also have good. And that's really the key, and that's why it's so difficult. Because you have to be able to look at the same thing and differentiate. The first thing that God made was light and darkness. You have to be able to know what is the light, what is the darkness. So the greatest light that we have is God. It's the times of Mashiach that we're in when God is revealing himself and giving us direction. There's no greater light than that. Imagine if I told you God will speak to you, give you directions. You pay anything for it. Well, it's happening right now, and it's easy. A person can ask God, and the first thought is his answer. But you have to cherish that. You have to want that. You have to know how precious and valuable that is. It's like saying, oh, the whole life you're groping in the darkness and I'll give you eyes. You'll be able to see now. It's unbelievably valuable. And the flip side is you also have to be able to look at the darkness in ourselves and say, no, there is a part of us that all the evil that exists in the universe, we're also capable of it. The proof is that they're just human beings, which are, the evil side in them has taken over. And when we can make that differentiation and really embrace the light and disgrace the darkness, we will be the light and we won't be the darkness.